Hi, folks. Like many people these days, I am working from home, as is my wife. And what we realized is what would be really handy is to have a way to passively indicate to each other as to when we're busy, like stuck on a conference call. So, what I came up with is the idea of having a do not disturb indicator or kind of like a busy light so that we could notify the other person that we are deep in a call and to not bother us. So, what I came up with is this little solution. It's kind of very quickly put together. This is only like 2 hours worth of work, which is kind of awesome because I just slapped together a bunch of parts I had laying around. Um, so, what you see here is a button on one of these boxes. There's really two. I got this one torn apart for us. You push a button on this box, it brings a yellow LED light on your box, turns it on, and then it turns on the red LED on the other box. This is the do not disturb indication, and this is the little yellow light to let you know that you have notified the other person that you are busy. And it works both directions. Let's see, this one's a little difficult to do. So, what I got going on inside of these things is pretty simple. It is a Wemos uh, D1 Mini, which is a nice little ESP8266 microcontroller demo board. I use these all the time. Pretty sure these are clones, but I had two of these laying around, and I have this programmed with Tosmoto, which is a nice open source home automation friendly firmware for these devices. And the way I have it configured is this is a button in the it's configured as a generic module with button tied into with one button one, and then the two LEDs I actually have configured as relays. So the yellow indication is relay 1 and the red LED is relay 2. And these things then talk together through MQTT over uh, Home Assistant. So I have a couple automations on Home Assistant. So when you push the button here, when you push button 1 and it notifies Home Assistant that relay 1 is turned on, an automation in Home Assistant goes back to the other box and tells it to turn on relay 2. And then likewise, when you turn it off, it turns off relay 2. So that was kind of like the quickest way of doing this without having to bother to build my own communication protocol between the two over Wi-Fi and all that jazz. If I just tie together with Home Automation with Home Assistant, it lets me not only figure out the logic behind this controlling the lights back and forth, but then also let me do other things like have a notification go out, a Google Mini. So that's kind of nice to have then too. So the box itself, I got the model from Thingiverse. There's a really cool model on built in OpenSCAD that's customizable. So I set it to my dimensions that I thought would fit, and it just so happened to barely fit. But it ends up being nice and compact. I had it also because it's OpenSCAD. It's really convenient because you can have it already put in the holes for the LEDs and stuff. These are some test prints I did to make sure my hole dimensions were correct. So it worked out pretty well for 3D printing the box. And then the cables, I just did it as I built my own little USB cables with these connections I've got off eBay a while ago. I find using this to build USB cables, if you only need power, to be far more cost effective than actually trying to use a micro USB cable. But of course, you could do that, and you could plug directly right into the Node MCUs. But I figure going directly into the back of the box is a neat little bit cleaner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all my files I have available onto GitHub. So the OpenSCAD modifications I made for this and the STL files, the 3D print it, and then I'll try and put up all the configurations I had to do with Tosmoto, which is actually pretty minimal, and then the automations I did onto Home Assistant to get this stuff tied together. And I figure somebody might somebody might find this useful to have a nice little passive do not disturb light. Oh, this the other one's unplugged. In order to to make their lives a little bit easier during these kind of rough times. So, thanks for watching.